Hey, what's going on guys? Tanmay here for Telusco Learnings and welcome back to another video tutorial under JQuery, and we are going through DOM manipulations. So this is sort of like the part 4 in this entire tutorial series. So in this video tutorial we are going to be looking at 4 different inbuilt jQuery methods which help us perform DOM manipulations, especially towards the CSS and styling part. So in the previous couple of videos we've seen different inbuilt jQuery DOM manipulation methods like append, prepend, after, before. We also saw HTML, we saw CSS, we saw text and whatnot. Okay, so if you have missed any of the videos, go check out the previous videos. Now let's talk about some methods which are particularly coming in for CSS. So as you can see on the screen, we have 4 different buttons which perform 4 different methods. The first one is going to be addClass. So as the name suggests, it adds one or more classes to the selected elements. Now what is this class? So this class is nothing related to any object oriented concepts. Okay, so don't confuse with that. When we are talking about front-end scripting, especially HTML and CSS, classes are something which we define in the style.css or separately, which has some CSS styling. So when you want to apply this in a dynamic way using jQuery, you can use the addClass method. Similarly, when you want to remove that class, you can use the removeClass. And when you want to perform both, depending upon what is done, you can use toggleClass. So if a class is already applied, you can remove it. If it's not applied, you can apply it. Okay. And lastly, we have the CSS method. We've seen this CSS method in the first video and the second part also, but we'll take a look at it again over here just for a revision purpose. But let's start off with the first addClass. So what I want to do is when I click on addClass, I want to add a particular class to this entire division, which means I want to add a little bit of more styling. Okay, so this has to be dynamic in nature only when I click on this button. So let's first access the button click. We'll use the $selector. I'm going to say hash btn1. That's the ID of the first button. I'm going to say click. Inside that, I'm going to say function, opening and closing round brackets of the function, opening and closing curly braces of the function. And inside this, I'm again going to access the division. So division ID is division1. So just paste it over here. I'm going to say add class. Okay. Now which class you want to apply is something that you have to pass in double quotes over here. So let's go to the style.css. In the style.css, you can see I've already created 3 different classes. The first is myDivs, which is already applied, right? You can see we already have this class applied to the first division. It is not there applied to the second division. So you can see there is one more new div class. So let's try to apply this. So the way we go about applying this is you just need to copy this class name. Okay, without the dot, you don't need the dot operator over here, and just paste it over here. So that's about it. So let's see what the class has. The class has a border radius of 10 pixel. So right now you can see we have square borders, right? So this border radius gives it a circular look, and the background color will change to aqua color. So that's something that should happen when we click on add class. So let's see if this works. So when I click on add class, there you go. You can see our class has been applied. The border has become curved and the background has become aqua color. Now similar to addClass, we have removeClass. So just copying this and pasting it and just changing the button ID to btn2. And here I'm going to say removeClass and removing that same class. So first I'm going to add class. If I click on removeClass, that class got removed. Okay, makes sense, pretty simple. Let's move ahead. The next one is toggleClass. So just copying this again and pasting it, changing the button ID to btn3. Here I'm going to say toggleClass. So when I click on toggleClass, if the class is applied, it will be removed. If it is not applied, it will be applied. Okay, let's just click on toggleClass. Let's click it again. Click it again. So you can see toggling is happening. So one more thing that I forgot to mention is you can pass multiple classes also. So in the style, you can see we have one more class which is new para class. So if I copy this, if I hit space over here and pass it over here, and if I click on add class, you can see that the new para class also got applied. In the new para class, what we had is we had the font weight as bold and the color was brown. So the paragraph which is inside this division, now we've selected the division, but it can be applied to pretty much any element, right? So it can be applied to paragraph or section or anything which has some content in it, and the styling will be applied to it. So this new para class is applied to this division. So anything inside this division will now become bold and will now have this color. So if I add one more paragraph inside this, let me just copy this and paste it over here. Let's say this paragraph doesn't have any ID also, but still it is inside this division div1, right? So now if I add class, it gets applied to the second paragraph also, because we've selected the division and not the paragraph. When I click on remove class, the new div class is removed, but we are not removing the new para class. So the color remains the same and the bold attribute also remains the same. So if I want to remove that also, I just have to hit space over here and pass that add class, remove class. So you can see it's working. Similarly, it works the same with toggle class. You can have multiple classes just by giving spaces between them, and that's how it's done. So lastly, we have the CSS method. So the CSS method can be used to add one particular or few particular CSS attributes to a particular element, or retrieve what exactly is the CSS styling of that particular element. So let's do that. Let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. Let's just change the ID of btn4. btn4 is the ID of the CSS button. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say CSS, and let's say you want to find out some CSS property. So this is we fetching the property, so I'm going to say alert. Inside that alert, I'm going to pass this entire thing, and the property that we want to find out is what is the padding. Okay, so if I click on CSS, you can see the padding is 10 pixel, and if you go to the styles, you can see the padding was 10 pixel, which was added to all the divisions. So we've selected the division, so that's why we're getting the padding, right? If we go and say font size, and if I click on CSS, you'll get the 16 pixel, which is standard font size of these paragraphs, which is inside this division. Now this is when we want to fetch something. So what if you want to set something? That is, you want to change the font size. So I'm just going to cut this or copy this. And when you want to change the font size, you just have to pass one more parameter using the comma. And you have to give, let's say, 20 pixel, semicolon. And when I click on CSS, you can see the size of the paragraph has increased. So this is something that we saw in the previous videos also. So let's not spend a lot of time on the CSS method. We've seen this already. And yeah, this was something which is related to DOM manipulations when it comes to classes, when you want to dynamically or manually apply classes or remove classes or toggle classes. So this will help you apply some styling on demand to your HTML documents depending upon particular events. So you can also change the events. You can apply something on hover, on mouse enter, on mouse exit and whatnot, so that can be done. Right now we're just doing it on click, but you get the point, right? You can add a lot of dynamic features, a lot of dynamic styling depending upon some events based on some inbuilt jQuery methods. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, do share it with your friends, let me know